Hi, 6th grade. Let's talk about preparing your Comparing Climates final report. The first thing you have to do is convert your draft organizer into your final report. And there's really only two steps. The first step is that you'll copy and paste your work from your organizer into your final report. You'll move on to step 2, where you'll make sure to turn bullet points into complete sentences and organize your paragraphs. Let's see how that works. In order to convert your organizer into your final report, you'll start in the Google Classroom and you'll scroll down to find the Comparing Climates project. Go ahead and open up that assignment, and then you're going to open 3 documents. The first one is your organizer. The next one is your Comparing Climates final draft. And the last one is your draft feedback rubric. We'll use that last. All right, now that I have my draft organizer open, I'm gonna go ahead and scroll down to get where I wrote my 3 paragraphs. You can skip right past the data table. You do not need to include the data table. Now what you're gonna do is copy and paste what you've written from each of the draft paragraphs into your final report. Pretty straightforward. I'm gonna highlight anything I wrote for paragraph 1, go up to the menu item that says Edit, and click Copy. Then I'll go to my tab of my final report, scroll down, making sure to add my name on my final report, and then scroll down to the second blank page. Here, I'm gonna hit Edit and Paste. So there's all my information for my first paragraph. Now, I think it's useful to the reader if I put a space in between the paragraphs. So I'm gonna hit the return key twice to make sure that I have a space in between my paragraphs. Then I'll go back to my organizer and highlight my information for paragraph 2. Click on Edit, click Copy, go back to my final report, click Edit, and click Paste. There's my second paragraph. Again, I'll put a space in between my paragraphs and go back to my organizer for my final paragraph. Again, highlighting what I wrote, clicking Edit, click Copy, go to my final report, click Edit, and click Paste. Now, if you need to clean up any of your sentences, now's the time to do that. So I'm noticing I have bullet points in the first paragraph, so I'll hit the Delete key to get rid of those. I'm also noticing that my first paragraph doesn't look like a paragraph, so I can delete the returns in between my writing. And that way, my sentences are organized into a paragraph. You should end up with a final report that looks something like this. 3 paragraphs, all organized. If you have more than 3 paragraphs, you probably have to put your information together. If you have less than 3 paragraphs, make sure you split them up into the appropriate 3 paragraphs. Now that your organizer is completed, you're going to want to self-assess your work. That means you're going to grade your own work and see where you stand. To do that, you're going to use the rubric to grade yourself. On the rubric, I want you to highlight the grades you think you would earn. You'll also decide 3 things to improve and make those improvements. Finally, you'll make sure to highlight one section that you want Mr. Carroll to really focus on. Right? I will give you very specific feedback on one section, but you have to identify what section that is. And please keep in mind that your rubric must be completed in order to get feedback from me. Let's see what that looks like. Now that I have my final draft started, I'm going to go to my draft feedback rubric. I'm noticing there's a section for feedback from Mr. Carroll. Let's get into the directions. It says grade your own project. The directions say grade your own project draft by reading your paragraphs carefully while checking the rubric. Highlight the bullet points that you think best represents your work. Then answer the questions below. Okay, so I'm going to go to my final report and I'd read my first paragraph. I would keep in mind what I had written and then go to the rubric. Things you're going to want to look for. In your first paragraph, Did you explain why the 3 cities will have the same temperatures, or why they should have the same temperatures? If you correctly explained why they should have the same temperatures, you could highlight that first bullet point. If you identified why they should have the same temperature, you could highlight the first bullet point under the to category. You'll also want to explain why they should have the same precipitation. Again, if you can write the reason that they should have the same precipitation, highlight the second bullet point in the 3 column. If you can only identify one reason that the 3 cities should be the same, you're going to highlight the first bullet point. Now in paragraph 2 and 3, you're going to look for a few things. First, you need to compare the data of those 2 cities. So in paragraph 2, you're looking at the coastal and inland city. You might compare their temperatures, how hot or cold they are. That could be one comparison. You could also compare how much rain they get. That could be your second comparison. Each comparison should have 2 numbers. So high temperature versus high temperature, or amount of rain versus amount of rain. If you've made 2 comparisons with numbers, you can highlight the bullet point that says using at least 2 details. If you compared the climates, but you didn't use the correct number of data points, if you didn't use enough numbers, then you might want to highlight down in the 1 category. The last thing you'll do for paragraphs 2 and 3 is check. Did you explain why they are actually different? They should be the same. Did you explain why they're different? If you did explain that correctly, you can highlight the bullet point under column 3 that says correctly explain the reason that the coastal and inland climates are different. If you know the reason, but you can't explain it, then you're in the 2 category. And if you can only find the reason for one of them, then you're down in the 1 category. The steps that you graded yourself for paragraph 2 are exactly the same that you'll do for paragraph 3. Once you're done looking at the 1s, 2s, and 3s, go ahead and look at the 4s. Did you explain why the cities should have the same temperature and precipitation? Well, you could highlight that bullet point. Did you explain why temperature and precipitation are different in paragraph 2 and 3? If you can explain why temperature and precipitation are different, you're up in the 4 category. So again, go through the bullet points and highlight the bullet points that you think match your work. Then you'll answer the questions in the question section, such as what grade would you give yourself and why? What are the 3 things you're going to improve? And what is the one most important thing you'd like Mr. Carroll to help you improve on your essay? Once you've finished your Comparing Climates draft rubric, you're going to submit all of your work to me so that I can take a look at the most important thing you'd like help on, and then I will give you feedback. I look forward to seeing your work.